So why is the world shifting from the third dimension to the fifth? Like, what's it all about? What does that even mean? Well, when we first came down to this earth from all over the solar system, we came down with a whole heap of different entities and DNA structures. You know, we didn't come down in human form. That's happened through a whole process of interbreeding and DNA, you know, slicing, and until we sort of taken this human form, generic human form. We came down with another group of entities, amongst others, and one of them were called the reptilians. And the reptilians are a group of people that look like green lizards, if you like. There's quite an accurate representation in the recent Star Wars with the character that's black and red in one of the new ones, and he's like things on his head. If you just make him green, that's a pretty accurate representation of what a reptilian looks like. Now, it's still a bit of a shock for people to hear about this, and I understand it was a shock for me when I channeled the information through, but you know what, like, you just have to, like, you know, if you get shocked about something and it affects you and puts you into some place of fear, it's great, because what you need to do is choose love. Like, that's great. Whenever we're in extreme fear, if we just move and use that to choose love, you know, we've done so much for our vibration. So whenever you're in fear, choose love, and then go and find out for yourself the information. Go and do your research. Go and see if what's causing you fear is true or not and resonates for you. Don't just say, that's crap, that can't exist. Don't close your mind down like that, because at some point in your life you honestly believed the world was flat. You know, you believe that. And you believe that that God existed in heaven and hell and was raining down, and you had to be in a certain way or you're going to go into this burning pit of hell. You believe that. So keep your mind open, hey. Do your research, don't be lazy about it, because that's becoming a sovereign being. So we came down with these reptilians, and since they got here, their general mind frame is that they own the world, that it's their earth, and that's what they have been building towards this whole time, taking over total control of the earth and everyone that lives on it. And through holding the sacred knowledge of who we are. Now, the reptilians exist in the lower fourth dimension, so they're vibrating quicker than us, and they have access to more information than us, because every level of consciousness knows a little bit more than the one before. And the way that they've enacted their control over the human race is to basically remove access to the information of who we are, to the truth of who we are, of how godly we are and how powerful we are as people. And they've done this systematically by putting themselves in positions of power. And creating these bloodlines, you know, we think that the royal family interbreed because they're snobs. It's not true. There's a bloodline being protected there, and so they've put themselves in this position of power. And through enacting that power, they've then systematically gone through and basically recreated our history by removing all the evidence that contradicts it in relation to this, like things like the Spanish Inquisition, the witch hunts. The medieval days, you know, this whole, you know, burn anything that's different, going into native communities and just destroying the ancient knowledge, the temples, going into places like Tibet, for example, just destroying as much as they can. And systematically throughout the ages, they've done this. They've just gone to any place that has still a connection to our source, and burned, pillaged, destroyed. Because this isn't organic to human life forms. We don't innately have a desire in us to kill and murder and rape and destroy. That's not our thing at all. But this is how they've sort of like taken from us the knowledge of who we are. Not only have they put themselves in a position of power, and by doing that, it's enabled them to rewrite history, to create these prison religions, which today people still really struggle to decide if they're real or not. Systematically they've created these religions, and you know that they've been created because they exist through fear, control and power. You know, like, you have to do this and you have to believe in this, like, across the board, or you're not Islamic, or you're not Christian, or you're not Buddhist. You know, that's the general take on the religions. You have to follow what we say to you, and you have to communicate through us, or you're out. You know, the story of Christianity, you know, if you just do the research and actually start asking why, where did this come from? What's the origin? What's the proof? Why I'm accepting this idea without using my thinking faculties to actually, you know, actually understand for myself if this is true. The story of Jesus Christ is such an old story that's been repeated through religions way before Christianity, to the T, right down to the three wise men bringing frankincense, myrrh and incense, whatever it is. That is an age-old story. The Virgin Mother, being born to a Virgin Mother, being crucified, dying on the cross, putting into a tomb, and then returning 3 days and the body's miraculously gone. That story is so old, way beyond Christianity. There are so many religions that have exactly the same story. And I recommend you do your research on this if you're still struggling to know whether or not Christianity is correct. Any religion that tells you that God's outside of you is not true. Any religion that requires you to do something in order to be seen in the eyes of God as a person that is godly is not true. Any religion that facilitates a situation that causes conflict between man and woman is not true. Any religion that facilitates a conflict between races or sexualities or genders is not true. Any religion that facilitates a conflict between you and your direct communication to God and you having to go through another person is just simply not true. It's there to control. And once you start to do your research, you'll get this. I mean, the evidence isn't hidden for long. You know, David Icke's brilliant at this when he's done he's got a series of books all about this. So have so many other people. Do your research. Anyway, the reptilians have used systematically through history things like prison religions, political enslavement. They've created conflict throughout the world to manipulate people into generating as much fear as possible. And they've done this systematically with all the wars: World War I, Pearl Harbor, World War II, the Vietnam War, all the terrorist acts, Waco, Oklahoma, 9/11, and soon we're going to see a crisis in China and Russia. Once you become aware of this information, you know, the way world events plays out become very easy to dictate and predict. And plus, they are in a situation where they've basically created the whole media. They own the media. We see what they want us to see. They sell us a story. They also own all the money in the world banks, which, you know, are responsible for bringing us into recession or bringing us into times of abundance. They just move and shift it and create this fake money through interest. And as they do this, they have the power to bankrupt, or they have the power to get people to spend more. Either way, all of the systems that we currently live in are manipulated and controlled, and have been that way through history by this reptilian agenda. And you know, soon we're going to really start seeing it. Soon we're going to start seeing, because the vibration around the earth is quickening so much as we move towards 2012, that they can't hold their human form as well as they used to. So there's thousands and thousands of cases now where people have seen them shapeshift. And I'm talking, just to name them quickly, all the royal families. So the English royal family in particular, all the Bushes and Clintons and people in governmental power in America and across the world, presidents, prime ministers, anyone in any position of world banks, of power and control across the board, have got there not through ballot but through bloodline. Do you know of all the presidents in the United States? There's like 42 of them now. Like 37 of them are related by blood, and they're related to the royal family of England by blood. You know, so it's time that you start asking why to all these questions. Absolutely. And so back to 2012. So reptilian agenda, they operate through fear. Because they exist in a lower fourth dimension, it's there. They have to plug into an energy source to actually take human form and interact on this third plane. And they do that by plugging into the source of fear. So it's been systematically their role throughout history to generate as much fear in the human race through all these conflicts to actually generate more and more power to them, because there's relatively few of them versus us. So they're operating by creating fear, and two, by denying us the information that allows us to know who we truly are, which is God. And how powerful it is to know your God, because then you can start taking back your power and start enacting your own freedom. So that's two aspects of 212 that you need to start knowing about. The reptilian agenda is about to blow up in our faces.